to the $100 MBA Show, and today is a Q&A weekend episode where we answer your question right here on the show. If you guys have a question, just email us at contact@100mba.net, or you can send me a tweet on Twitter. BizRepublic is my handle, B-I-Z Republic. As always, I'm your host, your coach, your teacher, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. You can check us out at 100mba.net. And today's question comes from Calvin. Calvin asks, I got a couple of comments that were horribly rude on my blog. Should I take these nasty comments with validity? Not an uncommon thing to happen, Calvin. I'm going to answer your question and get into the details, so let's get down to business. Today's episode of the $100 MBA Show is sponsored by Privlo. You're an entrepreneur, you've carved out your own path to success, so why can't you get a mortgage? Privlo is a new kind of mortgage lender that knows everyone's finances don't fit into a neat little box. They take a holistic view of your finances to see if you qualify for a mortgage. To apply, go to privlo.com/podcast and fill out a simple online form. You'll have a decision within hours. That's privlo.com/podcast. Privlo, get home. NMLS ID 1076413. So Calvin got a couple of stray comments that were horribly rude on his website, on his blog. And when he tried to follow up with these rude folks, they never responded. So Calvin asks, should I take these nasty comments with validity? Should I take them seriously? Should I take them for face value? Let me start off by saying, if you have a business, if you are out in the public, if you have a blog, if you have a Facebook page for that matter, and you put up comments, you will get people that are going to hate. You're going to get people that are going to say things that are not the most polite things in the world. This is just the nature of the world. There's going to be people that are going to disagree with you, or there are going to be people that just simply want to just get a stir out of you. And then there's going to be people that write comments where the substance of the comment is not 100% wrong, but their delivery is just unacceptable. So Calvin's got a couple comments on his blog that are just really, really rude. And Calvin, being an awesome, nice guy, he actually reached out to these folks trying to see if he can have a dialogue. And they never responded. Well, most people on the internet that do act this way, they don't really think about the person on the other end. They don't really think this is real. Like, they don't expect Calvin to reach out and say, hey, let's have a talk about this. Maybe you can help me out with your feedback. So very rarely when I've reached out to people that are rude on our site that I get a response, because quite frankly, they're embarrassed. They don't want to face the person that they were rude to because they thought it was just a one-way conversation. But let me get to the point here. Should you take these nasty comments with validity? Now, you should take every comment, regardless if it's rude or not, into consideration. You have to take a holistic view of everything that's being said. And you also have to remember that there is this concept on the internet that's called the silent majority. You're going to get the vocal minority, people that actually voice their opinions, whether good or bad, but that's the minority of the people that are actually checking out your work. Most people don't say anything at all. So remember that just because one or two people are saying something, it doesn't mean that everybody thinks this. And this is one of the challenges of an online business, because it's very hard to get a consensus of what's going on. Surveys sometimes don't work. You can't just ask people. One of the best ways to do this is through a webinar. Invite people to a webinar, have a Q&A session, and ask them directly, for feedback. But the point here is that you got to take everything with a grain of salt. A lot of people make drastic changes in their business because one or maybe two people make a strong comment and they think, oh, I better change my business. You're not serving one or two people. You're serving many people, your whole audience. You also have to take comments that are horribly rude like these and put them in a category all by themselves. You have to ask the question, why are they being rude? What compels somebody to be so nasty? And if somebody's that nasty, do they genuinely want to help you out? Are they trying to really make things better? Do they have your best interests in mind, or are they just being rude to be rude? They want to feel special or important or be heard. So keep that in mind. Sometimes people are just going to blast off and there's no substance to it. It could be just their perspective. So when you do get comments, I suggest that you have a spreadsheet on your Google Drive or something where you put all your feedback and then simply just copy and paste them. reply to the thread and just say, thank you for your feedback. We appreciate it. Anything that can help us improve really is appreciated. So what you need to do is pop it into the spreadsheet, and then every week or so, take a look at that spreadsheet. Is there something that is happening over and over again? Is there a message or a piece of feedback that's being repeated? Are some of these pieces of feedback things that you agree with? I mean, that's enough right there. So if you look at a piece of feedback and you say, hey, you're right, yeah, I do want to make that change. That's something I've been thinking about for a while. Make the change. It's okay. Or is that feedback completely off? Or sometimes it's just not a priority. It's easy to give feedback when you don't have to do the work, right? I can go ahead and complain and give feedback when I don't have to make the changes. And sometimes there are really good pieces of feedback, but it's just not a priority right now. You have other things you need to do in order to improve before those things can be implemented. Guys, I got more on Calvin's question, but before that, I got to give love to today's sponsor, Privlo. Are you self-employed, an entrepreneur, or a business owner who's successful, has good credit, but can't get a mortgage through a traditional lender? Privlo is a new kind of mortgage lender that can help. They take a holistic view of your finances to see if you qualify for a mortgage. Even if you've had a bankruptcy or a foreclosure over a year old or a short sale over 6 months ago, you still may be eligible. Same thing if you avoided taking on debt and have a clean but limited credit history. Privlo knows the gig economy is the new normal and built a company that specializes in home loans tailored to fit real lives. To apply, go to privlo.com/podcast and fill out a simple online form. You'll have a decision within hours. That's privlo.com/podcast or call 855-477-4850. Privlo, get home. And now in an amazing demonstration of compliance, that means Privlo's on the up and up, a few words from the government. Privlo Inc. is a licensed equal housing mortgage lender, NMLS ID 1076413, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Washington CL 1076413, Texas License 107679. All right, I want to wrap up this lesson on how to deal with nasty comments and should you take them seriously, should you take them with a grain of salt, with one final piece of advice. One of the best pieces of advice that I got when I started out as an entrepreneur was start growing thick skin. And this is not like some kind of generic advice like, man up or be tough. You really need to grow thick skin as an entrepreneur because the more successful you become, the more hate you're going to get. People just don't like seeing other people being more successful than you. There are people like that. Not everybody and not the majority of people, but there are people that are just simply jealous. And you might be thinking, I'm just getting started. Why would they be jealous of me? Well, you got started and maybe they haven't gotten started either. Or they see potential in you and they don't want to see you surpass them. So just recognize the fact that you will get negativity your way. This is just par for the course. And when you do get negativity, you should say, hey, this is just par for the course. This means I'm on the right track. This means I'm an entrepreneur. Try not to get down about it. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but plug it away in your spreadsheet. Kill them with kindness, reply and say, hey, thank you so much for your response. Just like you try to reach out to them, Calvin, great job with that. And be professional and as kind as possible. Do not try to retaliate or get revenge. It's not going to get anywhere. You're the professional, you're the business owner. And at the end of the day, it's your business. You could do what you want to do. Make sure you serve your audience, serve your customers, and be professional. That's all that's asked from you. All right, Calvin, I hope that answers your question, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. Guys, remember, if you have a question, just email us at contact@100mba.net. I would love to answer your question right here on the show. You can also tweet at me on Twitter. BizRepublic is my handle. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a very, very interesting question. Phil is opening up an old school video arcade, and he's asking about real estate, the property that he's going to be moving into. Should he buy? Should he rent? We'll be talking about that in tomorrow's episode. Make sure you tune in for that. All right, guys, I want to leave you with this. The more and more I've developed as an entrepreneur, and I still have a long ways to go, I'm still learning. But the one thing I really learned is it becomes more and more an emotional and mental game. You have to constantly train yourself and tell yourself to get back on track, not to be distracted by negative comments or people hating, or maybe some bumps along the road. The faster you can get back on track and focus on what you need to be doing, the faster that you can be successful. I see this in not only entrepreneurship, but in every walk of life. Every superstar in their profession. When you look at sports, the people that are on the top of their game, I love basketball, so if you look at like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, these guys, they never really celebrated for too long, and they never were down for too long. So if they missed a couple shots, they shrugged it off, went back at it, played hard D, and they continued to play hard. And same thing, if they hit a couple amazing shots, they didn't celebrate for too long. They celebrated for a moment, and that's it. Back to work. The same thing goes for us as entrepreneurs. You got to just keep going back on track, whatever it is. All right, guys, I hope that helps, and I hope to see you in tomorrow's episode. I'll see you then, guys. Take care.